And there we are. We're live. We are live.
Ooh-wee. The pressure's
Indeed.
on. It's
The
time to
pressure's
it's time to
on.
collapse.
Yep. Yep.
Got to get it right.
Okay. I'm not. Well, I have no guarantees. So hey everybody, this is Leadership Studio. This used to be Coaching Conversations, but now this is Leadership Studio, and I am really, really excited to be here today with my friend and colleague Lee Smart. And Lee, why don't you introduce yourself so that folks can know who you are and what you're all about.
Oh, thanks for having me on, Todd. Lee Aaron Smart. If you're from the South, because from the South, you have to have two first names, right? So, so Lee Smart. I am the anti-grind coach. I help people who have made it to a certain point in their career or their life, and they get there and they go, "Man, this is not all I hoped it would be." I was really expecting more whenever I finally got that job title, whenever I finally got that career. I specifically work with self-employed people to find more fulfillment in our life. So I'm stoked about today's topic about applying life purpose as a response to overwhelm, because when I ran my first business, I spent almost 99% of my time completely overwhelmed until I hired a coach, and then all of a sudden I was back off. I had fun after that. So this is going to be a good one.
I think it will be a good one too. And why don't we just jump right in? Because I think everyone knows what overwhelm means, but I'm not sure everyone's going to know what we mean when we say life purpose. So because that might be a bit of sort of coaching jargon. So why don't we unpack that a little bit? What, like, when you think life purpose, what does that mean to you?
To me, life purpose is a wide range of things. Many times when you first start trying to discover your life purpose, you try and get too narrow with it. It's like, what am I doing? What do I do? So many people have their identity so tied up in what they do that you ask them, hi, what do you do? And then they'll immediately go into what their title is or what their job is. And life purpose is a little bit more wide open like that. And I'm thinking about a specific moment in my life whenever my daughter got on stage and she performed on stage, and I was overwhelmed with like so much gratitude, so much joy, so much love that it brought tears to my eyes. And when you're on purpose, that's what happens. Wow. When you're on purpose, it's easy to get up out of bed because you want to get out of bed. You don't have to force yourself to get out of bed to go to work. There's not the drudgery that comes with, oh, I got to go get these things done. It's like all of a sudden you move from have to get to. That's life purpose.
From have to get to. Oh man, that's juicy. That really is. And that's really resonant. Yeah. You said that this is something that that you discovered that sort of clicked in your life because before we started, you've got this long entrepreneurial history, and what I'll share is my history isn't long and entrepreneurial; it's long and corporate, and the difference between have to and get to is incredible. And get to sometimes happened in corporate, like for the blips. There were blips, but it wasn't consistent. And you're right. I think the difference between the blips and the consistency was around sort of re-emerging or emerging, that life purpose of what am I actually here meant to do, meant to be. I like that. I like that a lot. How does it apply to overwhelm?
How does it apply to overwhelm? So I know in running, so I used to run a mechanic shop, and in running it, I never felt like I could do enough. Never felt like I had enough. Never felt like I was enough now that I look back on it. And I didn't know what it looked like to win my day. And because I didn't know what it looked like to win my day, because I didn't have that target to aim at, I would be trying to hit a target that was invisible, that didn't exist. So I can never, ever do enough. It's like, no matter how much I did, there was always one more thing to do. I think about the task list that I had I swear it felt like the Hydra of Greek myth. I would cut one of them off and two more would grow
Two
back
more
in
would grow.
place.
I love that.
And there's
Yeah.
only so much we can do. How efficient do we need to be? Seriously.
Yeah.
How productive do we need to be before we finally start to be happy, to have joy, to enjoy our lives, right?
Yeah.
It's the idea of I'm going to get there eventually. Once I finally get there, then I'll have it and I'll be exonerated. I'll have enough at that point once I finally reach this imaginary finish line.
Imaginary, yeah. And that sounds really resonant. I want to call out what Alana has put in the chat. She says, you know, if you know your purpose, what you do supports it. And when you don't know, what you do defines you. And that's really resonant too. It really, really is. You know, I in the past when people said, you know, what are you all about? I would have said, what do I do for a living? And it's been so liberating to have a purpose that can be part of my identity, because it means that I can do many, many different things. So we've both done some work on life purpose ourselves. And I know that we both have ways to describe our life purpose. And you know that I really love yours.
Yeah.
So I want to ask, like, are you willing? Yeah. Can we share? Like, can we trade life purpose statements? Because I think it might give some color, some context to the folks.
Yeah. So we originally reached out because we both, you finished the leadership program via CTI. I just started and I was typed as a danger type. And so I reached out on Facebook and you replied, I'm a danger type too. So we had a conversation and realized we got plenty in common. So my life purpose statement can be a little shocking to some people who aren't ready to hear it. So I start with a preamble, and it originally started with, I am the rock star who lives a song so moving, others can't help but dance along. So that was it up until leadership. And then we started to discuss it and go into it deeper through the leadership program. And what I realized, what I really, really love to do is take people who are on the edge of massive transformation and help them get over that line. To have that support whenever you just know something needs to change, you know, life needs to be different, and you're not sure exactly how or what or why or which direction to take. That's where I come in. I help find some of that direction, some of the motivation to get some of the work done to do that. I noticed, because I've had these epiphanies in my life, that whenever I would try to help people, you know, I had this freaking savior complex for a little while, like I'm gonna save the world, right? And I noticed that
sometimes a coach thing too.
Help people that weren't ready to be helped, there was bitterness. All that went through my head in like 2 seconds, and I started giggling to myself whenever we were talking about life purpose. And I said, oh, I pop ripe cherries.
I love that. That tickles me every time. I love that so much.
And some people have a visceral reaction against this because, oh, that's just so dirty. It's so wrong. It's but it makes me giggle every time I think about it. So it's 100% mine. And that's why I love to have the little bit of a pretext beforehand, that way you know the context behind it. And now it doesn't sting quite as bad. It's been fun. It's been so
I like
fun.
the sting, but I get it. Because, you know, like some of those ripe cherries are sweet, but they're also tart, you know?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there's so much goodness in this metaphor if you unpack it.
Yeah. And I think what I love about what you're describing, like, you know, especially the arc, right? Like starting from the rock star to the cherries, is you maintained the metaphor, right? And one of the, you know, part of the coaching tools that we use is creating or helping clients create that metaphor for themselves. And there's a lot of power in that metaphor. And I love yours. Like I'm never gonna forget I pop ripe cherries, man. But
Yeah.
like, and I'm going to answer the same question, because for me, the metaphor personally just never landed. So I
Mhm.
can't even tell you what it started off with, right? Like I think I was the spicy chef or something, right?
Mhm.
It didn't work. It didn't work. It didn't work. And it wasn't until um, I decided, you know what, I need to drop the metaphor and just make a declaration.
Yeah.
And when that happened and I started playing with it that way, I landed in something that was more resonant and sort of became a lens through which I can view all of my other actions. So mine goes like this. It's I express my love by giving a shit and by creating the space for other people to do the same, because that's where hope lives.
Very nice. Very nice.
Thanks.
And if
Thanks.
you notice with both of them, it's not I am an accountant, I am a lawyer, I'm a coach,
Mm-hmm.
whatever that job title is.
Mm-hmm.
This can go across all
Yeah.
eras of life. Whatever era of
Yeah.
life you're in, this can come
Mm-hmm.
and really, really just be very, very flexible and still be a guiding light. I think about
Yeah.
these like guiding stars in the sky, and
Mm-hmm.
a lot of people don't have are afraid to chase ideals. Like I have an ideal and it's a guiding star. And what we don't realize is we're traveling in a boat. And even though we can't make it to that shining star in a boat, we can
Yeah.
sure make it to a distant shore. That
Mm-hmm.
having that guiding ideal is a far better way to travel. And this is how
Yeah.
overwhelm works, right? Because if you don't have that guiding star, you'll end up wherever
Mm-hmm.
the tide takes you.
Right. Right.
And then you got to deal with whatever consequences happen whenever the
Mm-hmm.
tide takes you to uh, an island that's full of savages.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, that's where burnout lives, right?
Exactly.
Like that's like,
Exactly.
ride the overwhelm train for too long and you land in a place where you can't correct it using action anymore. You have to correct it with rest and recuperation and palliative care. And I'm speaking from experience. um so yeah, I think I love the idea of the North Star, because you're right, it's not just this isn't just something that we apply professionally, right? Like, my life purpose is the same whether I'm at work or whether I'm at home or whether I'm at the library or whether I'm at the community center or any of the places that I find myself with other people. um and it really is like when something I'm about to do or something I've done feels gross, usually what I can do is I can apply it to that life purpose, and I can say, oh,
Mhm.
was I on purpose or was I off purpose?
Mhm. Mhm.
And more times than not, I'll discover I was off purpose.
Mhm.
And sometimes I need to make amends because of that, depending on who I've impacted as a result. So it's
Mm.
it's it's kind of like, oh, I like the word morality is popping into my head, but I don't really like that word. Maybe it's personal ethics. I don't know. But there's something attached to it. Like it's I know it it grounds me while at the same time allowing me to soar.
Mm. Yes.
Like there's
Yes.
there's something like, I can fly safely because of it. I don't have to worry about flying off the handle.
Mhm. Yeah. Well, I tell you what you just reminded me of is a lot of times whenever people, especially coaches, have had this transformational moment and they're
Hmm.
like, oh, I'm going to live with life purpose. They think that their career then has to be their life purpose and they end up going broke.
Yep.
And,
Yep.
you know,
There's that.
career can serve life purpose. Life purpose
Mhm.
does not have to be career. In
Yeah.
fact, you're probably more likely to be able to live your life purpose if you have something that can support it. Because,
Hmm.
what we're kind of talking about is the top of the Maslow's hierarchy, the self-actualization.
Hmm.
And if the bottom isn't met, the security, the safety, if that
Hmm.
isn't met, then life purpose is kind of hard to do whenever you're worried about paying your mortgage
Yeah.
um, or
Exactly.
health bills or
Hmm.
whatever it is, right?
Yeah. And I'm so glad you brought that up, because so much of when I've got clients who show up in overwhelm or in anxiety or whatever, so much of what they're talking about is, like, I don't feel like I have a choice because I got bills to pay, I got things to do, I've got the mortgage, I've got the groceries, I've got the family, I've got the whatever. Or sometimes it's even, higher up things, like, luxuries become needs if they've existed for a long time.
Mhm.
And people can show up and overwhelm in both of those situations.
Mhm.
So yeah, I love what you're saying, is that it's not everything. But it's
It's not.
still,
It's a significant piece of the puzzle, though.
yeah.
If we don't have purpose, we wake up listless. It's really hard to get up and moving, to even bother.
Mhm.
Everything feels like drudgery.
Yeah. Even success feels like drudgery.
Yes.
And I think
Yes.
that's the thing, because I and folks who've listened to a couple of these episodes know this already, but I have, if you go into my Wayback Machine and look at my professional career, by most accounts, it looks successful. And,
Mhm.
I would move up into the right, and, better job, more money, better job, more money, until,
Mhm.
until that's what success meant.
Yeah.
But the things that I was doing became less and less important, until all of a sudden I realized, oh, wait a minute, what's this severe misalignment that I'm experiencing?
Mhm.
And I didn't have anything with which to compare it.
Mhm. Mhm.
And that just became, all right, well, let's spin out of control, because
Yeah.
what do things even mean right now?
Yeah. Yeah, you just reminded me of my motivation framework, and what many people are do is they are running to a goal. So my
Hmm.
framework is running from, right? That's
Hmm.
kind of the bottom of it. And like, I'm running from something that I can't be with, whatever it is. I'm
Hmm.
running from being broke. I'm running from uh not feeling like I'm enough. I'm running from not being respected, loved, whatever it is. And then you have the next step up. It's running to, you have an aspiration that you're
Hmm.
trying to get to. So step one, the running from, is desperation. Two is aspiration. I have a goal that I'm trying to get to. And if you hate running and are trying to reach that goal, you're going to have a rough life.
Yeah.
That's so stage
Yeah.
three. Stage
Hmm.
three is just running. And I always love
Hmm.
to quote Forrest Gump on this one, because Forrest loved to run. So I just
Yep.
kept running.
Yep.
And whenever we have that process, where we have the tasks that we love to do, and we can do more of that, say it's spend time with our kids, or work on creative projects that we put aside because we had to go make the dollars. I know I did
Hmm.
that. I had a dream of being in a band, and as soon as I started to have kids, that dream just fell off, because
Yeah.
I had to make the donuts. I got to go make the dollars. I got to be the provider,
Hmm.
because I was told as a
Hmm.
man you have to be a provider.
Yep.
And then, um, so that's all I did, was try to provide,
Hmm.
and
Right.
I lost a piece of my soul in doing so.
Uh-huh.
Absolutely
Yeah.
lost a piece of my soul. So now that I have kids and I've started to practice music again, now I spend time. I kid you not, right here in my book, just the other day, my youngest daughter is 9. She and I wrote a song together,
Oh,
and
beautiful.
talk about being on purpose.
Yep. Wow. Wow. Oh man, I felt that one in my soul.
Oh, it's so good. So
Yeah.
good.
Hey, Alana's got another comment too, and I think
Oh,
that
love that
yeah, she's
reminder.
bringing it in. So this is true, right? Success is drudgery when it doesn't meet your own meaning of success,
Mhm.
which typically isn't keeping up with the Joneses. And it's I listen. I chased those Joneses for a really, really long, long time. Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
Mhm.
There's something. You know what's coming up for me when I think about this, and when I think
Well,
about what you said too, like
yeah, real quick.
the.
I think I
Oh,
like
go
Lana.
ahead. You do.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
I think I like
Oh,
Lana a lot. So go ahead.
yeah. I do too. She's one of my favorites.
That's awesome.
But yeah, like the thing that's popping up for me, um, with Alana, what you've just said, and also Lee, you know, your experience of writing music with your daughter, is something that actually just fell completely on my head. I had an idea what I was going to say, and now I've lost it. This is one of the cool things
See,
about
look,
being live. Beats me.
it reminds me of Tenacious D. I did not mean to blow your mind, but that shit happens all the time.
Lee, you blow my mind on the regular, and I love it. And I love it. Yeah, it's I know what it is. Keeping up with the Joneses, right? Comparison. There's this space of comparison that doesn't lead to like to where we're going, right? Actually does, for me anyway, led very firmly to overwhelm. And one of the things that life purpose has given me, or having sort of this anchor that I can hang on to, has been about I don't have to compare myself to anyone other than myself. Like my life purpose, that's my life purpose, not your life purpose, not their life purpose, not sure her life purpose, my life purpose. It lives here.
Yeah, I realized that whenever I was doing some powerlifting, and I realized that no matter how good I got, there was always going to be somebody better at something somewhere.
Yep.
If I became world champion at the squat, then somebody was going to be better at the deadlift. Somebody else was going to be better at the bench press, and I would never live up to whatever standards if I'm comparing myself to everybody else. So what are the standards for what I'm good at, what I want, what lights me up? I keep coming back to, like, when you know you're on purpose, when you feel it, whenever you have just these visceral reactions of, man, oh God, this moment was phenomenal. I've had one whenever I took a client, he and I went up, we climbed Emery Peak in dadgummit, forgot the name of the park all of a sudden. Big Bend National Park, Southwest Texas, on the Mexican border. We climbed Emery Peak. Yeah. And it was a moment for him. It was very, very difficult for him to do that. It wouldn't be nearly as difficult now, since we worked together for as long as we have got his health on track. But it was very difficult for him. So when we made it to the top, it was just this elational moment for him that he did something very difficult. And I made that same trek with my kids too. It's not an easy trek. You go up 3,500 feet. It's a 10 miles round trip.
Wow.
You go way up in the sky on Emery Peak. And doing that, I just remember taking my kids up there and watching them also find out what they're made out of, find out that they're capable of so much more than they ever thought they were. And I'll never forget those moments. It's just this moment of supreme, this is what I was put on this earth to do, is to help other people live their own song and to realize what they're capable of. Like, what more powerful thing could I possibly be doing with my life? For me.
Yeah. And do you know what I love about that too, Lee? Is it, and I'm making up that there's something about coaches. There's something about coaches that has that altruism that, you know, I derive joy from seeing other people live on purpose as well. And what I love about that, like when I get really, you know, we call it level 1 listening in coaching, when I get really sort of into myself, what I love about that is knowing that there's someone out there in the world like you who's interested in knowing that I'm being on purpose. Like that's like you and I are separated by huge tracts of geography. We are nowhere near each other on this continent. But there's something about knowing that you care that lights me up. And I love that.
Indeed, my man. That
it's so, yeah, it's so interesting. And it's because, you know what, the other thing too, like, I go back to Overwhelm, this work is not with it, like, it's not busy. Like it's a constant go all the time. But through the lens of purpose, it's easier to do that. Like it's easier to be okay with that than it ever was before.
Yeah, you reminded me of a common statement you hear, especially like the type circles. It's if you have the right why, you can go through any how.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
have a problem with that statement because
Okay.
it's true, but it's kind of limited in that, there's not a whole lot of room for nuance in those kinds of statements. And
True.
I go back to that framework. If you're running that marathon, but you're running it through a swamp, you're going to have a miserable ass life.
Yep.
So no matter if that aspiration is really, really high, that's great. That's a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
But then the process also needs to be a piece of it too.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to love your process, to love
running through the swamp.
Going through the swamp. If you love to go through a swamp, by all means, do it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll be in my boat.
Same. Same.
I ain't running.
Listen, even climbing that mountain you were talking about just made my eyes real wide. That sounds like, I'm glad you enjoy it. I really do. Oh man. Listen, I just looked at the time. We've got about 4 minutes to go. So I think we need to wrap up. But what do you want? I could talk to you for all. I could talk to you all day. I could.
Yeah, I was about to pitch a fit. I don't want to wrap up.
Oh man. I think I'm laughing more.
It's not fair.
It's exactly right. Exactly. We should be able to keep going. Listen, what's the takeaway? What do you want folks to take away from this conversation?
Oh, alignment. You find your alignment, then life significantly improves. It does. That's going back to what we talked about. We move from have to get to, and it makes life better across the board. So I think that would be my one takeaway.
Yeah, I love that, and I think it's really good. The what I would add is, if something doesn't feel right, what do you want to get curious about? What's like? Is it possible? Like, do I know what I'm here for? Do I know what's important to me? And if I struggle with those things, then where could I apply some curiosity? Where could I take a step back? Because once you're in the overwhelm, once you're in that vortex, that spin, it's hard to remember to take a step back. And it's hard to get curious. So that's like, I know that what I'm asking folks to do isn't easy. Man, it's worth it because it's the first step. Yeah.
Thought about one other thing real fast, and that
go for it.
If you're on purpose, difficult jobs that you don't care for can many times transform into something that you do enjoy. So we can take a shitty situation and make it a good situation by being on purpose. So
I agree.
Yeah.
I really agree, because I got to tell you, so I know we're supposed to wrap up, but if I think of my own life purpose and I think of applying, what would some of the really shitty jobs that I've had in my past have been like if I'd been able to apply that in those contexts, and how could I have been different? And and without regret, and just knowing that I discovered the things that I discovered when I was supposed to discover them, it's an interesting thought exercise. I think something to journal about sometimes.
It has been a pleasure, my friend.
I am so glad that you agreed to come onto the show with me and to hang out and have this great conversation. You're magnificent. Yeah, you really are. Listen, if folks want to get a hold of you, what's the best way for them to do that?
Easiest way to do that is through my podcast. The podcast currently lives only on YouTube. It's called That's a Great Point.
Awesome.
A couple of wonderful co-hosts, and we have a great time. It's fun. So
and I'm going to subscribe, and I'm going to start listening. You know what, Lee, what we'll do is I'll put a link to that podcast in the comments on LinkedIn so that folks can just go there directly.
And all my
Awesome.
information that you need to access me is in the show description.
Fantastic. That's wonderful. And everyone, you know, I'm Todd Karges. You can get me at toddkarges.com or here on LinkedIn or on YouTube. And that's a wrap. Thank you very much. This has been the first episode of Leadership Studio.
Oh,
and
number one.
I know, right? Yeah, I know, right? So I love that we've got a new name, and I love that you were here first. Thanks, Lee.
Very nice. I'm honored.
Thanks. Have a great day. I'm going to turn this off now.